On today's episode, we sit down with Alistair Matthews and Michael Hunter, co-founders of Puzz. Puzz is a jigsaw puzzle company known for its retro-inspired, design-forward puzzles. We hope you enjoy.
Thank you so much for joining us. And if you could give just a quick background about the business and your story and how you got here, that'd be great.
Yeah, we're Puzz. I'm Alistair Matthews.
And I'm Michael Hunter. Together we co-founded Puzz coming up on 4 years ago. It's a artist-run jigsaw puzzle company based in Brooklyn. We founded the business. Well, the idea for the business came about in about 2020. So a very mid-pandemic idea, which is appropriate for jigsaw puzzles when that was a hot thing to do in your downtime. We turned like a hobby and something that we enjoyed doing into a small business, and very quickly became a full-time job for both of us.
I imagine the first year or two looked a lot different than the past couple of years have been. If you could just kind of like give us a sense of what it felt like building a business at that time, because I feel like a lot of us myself have forgotten a lot about what it was like just to be kind of in lockdowns and living in a different way than we are now. So yeah, what did your day-to-day look like as you were just getting the business off the ground?
At first, it was like super lonely in that. Like, I think we were just completely separated. Also really changed their sort of like what our first set of puzzles was, because essentially we were kind of stuck inside. And so our first set of puzzles was built on basically things that we already had, which now is very different because now we can go to estate sales, flea markets, thrift stores, and find things for our puzzles. But before it was like, what do we have on this shelf?
Yeah, very, very much based around Alastair's collections and just a little bit more background on like kind of who we are and how this kind of came about too. In that time, it was Alistair and I have known each other for a long time. We met in Chicago. We were both,
it's like 17 years now.
It's coming up on like 17 plus years. We met in Chicago. We were both students at the Art Institute. I was studying painting. Alistair was studying photography. And became friends and just had stayed in touch, over the years. And then we both ended up in New York, and I was working for a company called AreaWare, which is a small objects design company. It's really fun. And I was doing a lot of marketing work, copywriting work for them.
And Michael hired me to do a lot of photography for them as well.
Yeah. And Alistair was always super reliable. I was just like, I trust your vision here. So we had like a small working relationship in that sense. Like we had done quite a few like silo and lifestyle photo shoots for them, which was like just so much fun. But yeah, like I actually had left that job right before the pandemic hit, and Alistair had texted me around that time and was just like, hey, I have a photo that I think would make a really great jigsaw puzzle. Do you think AreaWare would make it? And I was like, well, they probably would. But I was like, if you want to make that into a puzzle, I was like, I kind of know how to do that. And we should just start.
How did you know how to do that at that point?
Well, the team that I was working with at AreaWare had brought jigsaw puzzles to that company. So like
the iconic the gradient puzzles by Bryce Wilner.
Yeah, gradient puzzles now are like you see them everywhere, but in 2014, 2015, AreaWare really did kind of lead the way in that sort of puzzling. I mean, it'd definitely been done before. It wasn't like a totally new idea, but they like kind of came out on the scene with puzzles that just sold like crazy and were really beautiful. And then AreaWare had these little puzzles, these little desktop puzzles called Little Puzzle Thing, and I was part of doing a lot of the art direction and copywriting for those. So just kind of, even though I wasn't on the product development team, you kind of just learn and absorb, like, oh, this is kind of how you do it. This is the process. I sat next to my friend Alex, and she was always like working on die lines and talking to like the manufacturers. And so you just kind of absorb all those conversations. And, some of the products extremely complex. Like I don't know the ins and outs of like how to make a salt and pepper shaker, for instance, but the puzzle process was like fairly straightforward. And I was like, I pretty much think I could like work a working knowledge enough to like get this done. So And after, a few phone calls and a few emails and introductions, we were well on our way to like founding a company. And then, so like, we just started texting each other ideas and made this huge list of what we thought would make an ideal jigsaw puzzle, like based on the vintage ones that we'd been buying off of eBay and and critiquing really a lot of the newer companies that we had bought, being like, oh, these pieces are a bit flimsy. Oh, this is a bit small. Oh, this image is like low quality. Like, what is it that we would want? Like, what are our top 10? What are our top 20? Like, and then you start shopping those ideas around and you get a lot of closed doors, people being like, oh, well, I can't do this. I can't do that.
Yeah,
Um,
because we originally AreaWare makes their puzzles in China, and Michael immediately off the bat was like, "We should make them stateside because shipping is
a nightmare.
a nightmare. Like it takes forever. It's so expensive. It's so unreliable." And so we really tried at the beginning to make them in the US. And like Michael's saying, we just kept hitting a lot of dead ends. Um, like they could only do a one-sided poster, or it costs $10,000 to make a die line, things like that. So we sort of like pivoted to China.
And when you say dead ends, are you reaching out to, I guess, what do you like Google when you're searching for like a co-manufacturer for a puzzle maker? Like what's that
Yeah,
process look like of reaching out to someone to help with production?
I'm like, how did we even go? That seems so long ago.
I know. I think like I
I know we looked on, like, Springbok is sort of our number one vintage inspiration. And so we looked on their website and they have their own factory. And we reached out to them, but I don't think we ever heard back.
yeah
And then you must have reached out to some other companies or just done some
yeah
research.
yeah. I just started looking up all the made in the USA brands, and you can find out online. It's all on public record in different places of where things come from, and then just through Instagram DMs, Reddit threads, you can kind of find your way. And once you have a couple people's emails, then people are like super helpful. They start coming out of the woodwork being like, oh my gosh, I love this idea.
Recommending
you
other people
should
to try.
you should email this person. She's like the queen of US puzzle manufacturing, like, or, you just start getting, having these relationships. So yeah, at one point I went down this whole rabbit trail with this guy who was like, oh, I left this company in Germany and I'm bringing manufacturing to the United States and it's going to just be 3 months. We're going to be set up. It's going to be amazing. And like, I mean, he strung me along for quite a long time until I realized like, this is going nowhere. And quickly on the other side, we had reached out to like our dream graphic designers. They had said yes. We were like developing, it was just rapidly, we were like, oh my gosh, this is becoming real. And so, yeah, just after a bunch of back and forth with US manufacturers, we realized that the best place to make them was in China, and had a really productive conversation with these guys. They have our sales reps for them are in New York. They're over in Midtown. And they're great. They're super easy to work with. And yeah, it is like, a whole thing with shipping, and you were asking about like a surprise during
Or
COVID.
and like dead ends specifically. I think in that list that Michael referred to in the beginning of like our ideal puzzle, we would sort of be like, oh, and we want the puzzle pieces to come in a Ziploc bag, and they'd be like, oh, we can't do that, And we're like, oh. And they say, oh, we want to do like a poster that's double sided, and they're like, oh, we can't do that. We can't. We only do one side poster. So those were sort of the dead ends
Yeah.
that we were facing with the U.S. manufacturing.
Yeah. And then when we were having these conversations with our reps for the Chinese factory, they were just like, oh yeah, we can do that. We can do even more than
Yeah, they
that.
were like
They were
Ziploc
like,
bag. We could even make it yellow, and we were like, oh my god.
um, recently there's been a lot of talk about tariffs and Chinese manufacturing, and we can get into all that in a bit if you want. But yeah, it's definitely a whole thing. It's not so easy as people think to transfer your manufacturing process once you've established it. Um, like, people are like, oh, we'll just move it over to the US and you'll be fine. You don't have to pay all that stuff. Like, why don't you just make it here? Just like, oh, just like snap your fingers. Um, there's really a lot that goes into it, and totally happy to go into like all of those details as to why we really can't. And if we did, we would be making a completely different product. And so it's just a lot of compromise there. Um, but like one big surprise, like you had asked at the beginning, like were there any surprises in this time? And it was like, um, we had anticipated freight shipping to be expensive, but
How dare you make us remember this?
this was like a pretty like, oh no, is this even going to happen moment? Um, at some point, the ports were just in absolute turmoil and crisis around
Yeah.
2020. Um, and
Nobody was unloading. Nobody was unloading containers, so they would just sit full. So there were no empty containers.
yeah, it was like
Right.
containers. Yeah, there was so many different, you know, pieces of the puzzle, for lack of a better
We love a
pun.
puzzle pun.
But
Good.
but yeah,
Very good.
but they we had to, yeah, just kind of bite the bullet, and we were quoted at about like 30 cents, 35 cents per puzzle to get onto the freight ship,
Originally,
which is like pretty normal. Like, sometimes those prices fluctuate between 35 cents to 75 cents, but they went up to about $4,
$4.50
Whoa.
$4.50. So
per
per
puzzle.
puzzle on the freight. So when you're looking at like buying in bulk of like 6,000, you can quickly do the math. I mean, we're looking at like an extra 30 grand bill just to freight. I mean, we hadn't launched yet, but we had already manufactured everything, and they were giving
Oh
us
wow.
So
they were
this was like
like,
your first batch of puzzles, and you're
yeah,
waiting
this
for it,
was,
and
Very
all of a sudden overnight, you're like, here's another $40,000 to add to the
Yeah.
bill.
Yeah, they were like, remember what we said was going to be $2,500? It's 30 now.
yeah.
$30,000.
Yeah. And I mean, I think we were both just,
We were like, I guess there's only up from here, which was true. I mean, after that, we were like, oh, any price of the freight is infinitely better than the $30,000 freight, you know?
yeah.
And so at that point, you'd already manufactured it, but it's like the inventory's sitting in China, and
Yeah.
you can't get it here without. Okay, so that goes up a lot. What were you expecting the cost of the shipping to look like relative to the cost of manufacturing it? Like I don't have a good sense of how much a puzzle costs to produce versus ship over. Like what you generally expect those costs to look like.
Well, with freight shipping, it's quite a low percentage of the landed cost. I mean, you're generally think like, um, with manufacturing something like this, you're looking at your landed cost kind of totaling up to something around like, I mean, for us, anywhere between like $6 to $9, depending on like what we've included, and freight shipping is, generally about 50 to 75 cents of that. And then you have your C&D costs, which are like the overland costs once it's unloaded and comes over in the truck. And so like all of that together gets, totaled up into your landed, but it's really like, I mean, I don't know percentage wise. I'd like
See, the thing is that we didn't go to
10,
business school.
15%
So, like,
maybe.
percentages, like those kinds
We're
of
not
things
going
are
to be able to
not,
throw
yeah,
off.
we're like,
I'm not
whoa,
going to be
I
able
don't
to
know.
throw
I
out
never thought
really
about that.
accurate ones, but
Probably 15%
I
of
was
the
going to say
landed
10 to
cost.
15% of your
Yeah.
landed cost would be your freight. And yeah,
Whereas in 2020, it was more like 50%.
I mean, we've got real economics heads out there rolling their eyes at us right now, being like, "Oh my god, they should know this stuff." We're kind of just like, well,
We're not on Shark Tank.
no,
No, but it's wild. So your cost balloons because of this crazy
yeah,
thing that's out of your control.
yeah.
What does it look like? How does it get resolved? Like what happened that moved you into being able to actually launch?
Well, we wanted the price of our puzzles to be
Lower.
competitively lower, and
Yeah.
but then and we looked at all of our competitors, and they all kind of have like, you've got like a handful of boutique artist made puzzle companies out there, and they all charge relatively the same price. And we were like, wow, it'd be great if we could offer like a super high quality thing way under this. And we just weren't able to do that. We just had to adjust our pricing and just sort of like eat that cost as, your first year kind of getting set up costs, and, just put it behind us and just move forward, because we knew we had something super special. And I mean, I remember you talked to like our friend Mary Helena, and she was like,
Yeah, we ordered like 6,000 puzzles on our first go, and she was like, "Wow, do you think you might just have those forever?" Or like, she's like, "If I were you, I'd be worried. I'd be sitting on those forever." I was like, "Okay." I was thinking 6 months tops, hopefully. So yeah, I mean, we had high hopes.
yeah. And we just started, I don't know. Yeah, we just believed in it. And Yeah, it just has only grown from there. So
Yeah, and was this self-funded up until this point? Yeah, how did you go about fundraising, if at all, or was this bootstrapped?
Yeah, we're actually totally bootstrapped. Since we're so bootstrapped, we've been really good at being conservative with our spending, I would say.
yeah.
So we're actually not like, I think, if you were to sort of fundraise and start with $500,000 or something like that, you might have blown it a bit faster. So yeah, in that way, I think we were really strappy with sort of what,
Hmm.
our original expenses.
Yeah, and our team is very small. I mean, we now have
Basically just
it's
us.
basically just us. We have a part-time uh employee now, but
Our
it's
a marketing coordinator, Ava. Shout out to Ava. We love her. She's over there.
and that's our
That's our whole team.
that's our whole
Besides,
team. Besides, like,
we have a warehouse that ships stuff for us, and that's where all of our puzzles are currently sitting. We have our graphic designer duo who helped us since the beginning, and they sort of help design the website. They'll help us design boxes. And then we have a freelance ad buyer who pretty much helps us place our ads around the internet, like on Meta and Google. So that's really everybody.
yeah, it's just
Day to day,
yeah,
it was just us for the first 3 years.
yeah, really low
Yeah.
overhead, just scrappy.
Yeah, really lean. And before we jump into sort of today's landscape,
Yeah.
you're sitting there, you're waiting on 6,000 puzzles. Did you have orders already at that point? Did you have commitments to purchase the puzzles? Did you have retailers that you were already working with? What did that look like?
God, this really feels just like we were on a dream and a wish. Really, it seems like we like we started out. We launched our Instagram, and we were like coming soon, and like I think we were at that point. We were like,
We're really delusionally
let's go
believing
hard.
in this.
Well, no, I mean, yes and no, but we were also like, I think we were like throwing like $1,000 a week into Instagram ads.
How dare you?
I think, but it was like,
We've
but
learned.
we didn't have a media buyer at that point. And
Sure.
we didn't have anything else. It was just like, okay, the only way that we can get any eyes on this is to send it out into the world of Instagram. And at that, and so, and honestly, like within like, I don't know, 3 months, we had like about 5,000 followers. People had actually seen this and were like talking about it and were excited about it. It was like just this theoretical product at that point. And that was like in May or June. And then we launched in September, October. So just right before Q4, right before the holiday buying season. Which,
Which is still to date, like 50% of our revenue
yeah,
happens in November and December.
any
Yeah.
any small business that's in the gift buying world is you'll double your sales in Q4. You should double your sales in Q4 if you're on track. And it just was like right out of the gate. Yeah, we had a lot of people signing up on our mailing list. Basically, we had no pre-orders. And then I had made a list of 20 wholesalers that were just sort of like, these are
The dream kind of.
these are our ideal wholesale accounts that I think would be cool to like sell in. They all said yes
Immediately. All
immediately.
20 of them.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
I
Wow.
can't
I think
remember.
maybe two or three never replied, but have since
And our
signed up.
minimum is small. I mean, I think our
Yeah,
wholesale minimum is $200 to
$200 with a
start. So it's
commitment
like
of
16 puzzles.
yeah, and we keep it that because I think like what we're really interested in working with independent retailers and
Mom
smaller
and pop.
stores. Yeah, your mom and pop gift shops. And from the beginning, I mean, like La Puz has a very designed look to it. It has a very sort of like it has a language that
For lack of a better word, like hipster, people have called it. It's kind of the hipster puzzle brand. And we're like, no. So we're always trying to be like extremely relatable to the puzzle community, which is not like largely not hipster.
Fair.
um
Yeah.
I think like but well I think that also we just wanted like we were so inspired by like these puzzles from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and bringing that back for so many different reasons, and want to be able to appeal to not only people between the ages of 18 and 35, but like a broad range of people. And so, and also with the stores that we get carried in, like, yeah, we're in some of the like really trendy coolest gift shops in New York City, but also like we're in this your small town gift shop in
Boise,
in
Idaho.
Boise, Idaho, or like, someplace that a city that I've never visited in Kansas. That's just like, oh yeah, but they are reordering and reordering because they've got people in that place that you know are avid puzzlers, and we want to speak to those people too.
To answer your question, no, we did not have
No, we
pre-orders.
didn't have pre-orders, and but we did know like who we wanted our audience to be, and from day one, and we've pretty much stuck to that.
But I will say also, neither of us would have ever in a million years thought we would, first of all, probably start a company, period. Second of all, have it be a puzzle company. I mean, it was like so out of left field, but always felt really, really right. That's the sort of strangest thing about this. It
Mhm.
just came out of nowhere and it always felt like, oh my God, yes. Even though, I mean, it's like puzzles, but
Yeah.
we always believed in it.
When you're pitching those dream retailers, what do you think what's important to a retailer in that sense? Like are they connecting with the story and kind of the vision you have for what the brand is? Do they really like the way the puzzles look? Like what do you think it is that helps get a buyer at a retailer over the line into being like, we want to, place at least this minimum order and give it a try? Like, do you have a sense for kind of why you were successful at that early stage?
I feel like puzzles are just so aesthetically based that the
Uh-huh.
image really has to be like the first thing that gets you in the door, you know?
Yeah.
Because I mean, especially at the beginning, we had an ethos, in that we like love vintage puzzles and, we're small and artist run. But I think really like they have to like the puzzle image, to really want it in their store. And since then, we've grown a little bit more in terms of like advertising that we don't use AI and sort of all these things that now people have maybe like jumped in on and sort of like want to promote that a little bit more. But I think certainly at the beginning, like aesthetics really are with a puzzle. I mean, like
Mhm.
most of it.
Yeah, I really want to talk about the aesthetics of the brand. Obviously, this is like a beautiful brand. Your puzzles are gorgeous. And it's my understanding that you worked with a design firm
Mhm.
to create the aesthetics. Is that correct?
Yes.
So that's interesting to me, given that you're both artists. Can you speak to that process? How early did you bring them in? Why did you work with a design firm? How much creative sort of control or freedom or,
Mm.
like liberty did you give them versus like how much of this idea did you have to start with like what the sort of like brand identity was going to be?
Yeah.
It's funny that neither of us sort of assumed that we could do the branding because I think we assume we can do everything. But yeah, immediately off the bat, we were like, we have to have designers sort of design this brand. And we were both familiar with Little Troop, who are our designers, husband and wife duo. And yeah, Michael had talked to Noemi through AreaWare, and I was a big fan of Noemi's because I was a freelance photographer and she was working with Billy and she did a lot of hiring of shoots. And so yeah, we reached out to them really early on, like at the very, very beginning.
I kind of approached it like in a similar way when people sort of talk about like if you're a musician, you probably shouldn't mix your own record. Like it's good to give someone else like an ear on that. And even though yeah, we have aesthetics that we appreciate and we have a lot of design that we appreciate, like I know that I'm not a graphic designer. Like I know what goes into it, and like I know what I like, and I know what I like when I know what it is when I see it.
And
It's
I think
like
we also both knew the importance of strong brand design.
yeah,
Strong branding
yeah.
really can make such a
Totally. But, as far as the process, like, it was extremely, like, intimate process of, like,
collaboration with
yeah,
them.
like, from day one, I mean, they gave us, like, a huge questionnaire of, like,
Yeah, they have this
who we
really
are.
cool like 36-page questionnaire, sort of like anywhere from a paragraph and answer that's sort of like, what is the dream of this business, to these like really short questions like, if La Puz were a color, what would it be? If
Yeah,
La Puz was a
as a
car, what would
car
it
or a
be?
song.
A
Yeah.
TV show, a movie. And so that was a really fun way of sort of like narrowing in on what we were picturing.
Yeah, and then, there was a lot of Pinterest boarding. I mean, you have to sort of also visually describe what you're aiming for, and I would just say, I mean, like from day one, working with Noemi and Jeremy at Little Troop, I mean, it was like, oh, you guys are just part of this team. I
Like,
mean,
you came out of my brain.
yeah, like the first draft of things that they showed us is the branding you see. I mean, she
We were
had,
like, round of applause. Like,
yeah,
she showed us the first round, and we were like,
yeah, and I mean, you can go through so many rounds with people, and she had three distinct identities. I mean, it wasn't just one, and we were like, that's it. It was like there was a lot that went into it, but I mean, we were just like, okay, this is exactly what we had in mind. It's like you downloaded our brains somehow and like extracted this beautiful brand design. So yeah, I mean, I thought it was important to for us to distance ourselves from that and to allow someone who truly knows what's up
mhm.
take the reins there.
How has your day to day changed as the business has evolved and we've moved out of COVID into this kind of new era we're in now? Like the past 3 years, like what does today look like that's different from 2022 for what you do kind of day to day and what the brand looks like generally?
Well, I mean, for you, it's hugely different because Michael has a child. So as the child's gotten older, I feel like you've gotten more time in the office,
Yeah,
which has really expanded your workload.
yeah. That's true. Yeah, I mean, I think over the past 4 years, life is like, yeah, there's just different waves of availability and different things. But yeah, I'm definitely like more in the office now, which is nice. But yeah, our wholesale business has grown exponentially. I think like even in this last year, I think it's doubled.
Yeah,
I think we're in like probably 10 to 15 different countries internationally, and
almost 500
almost
stores.
500 shops around the world, museums, all kinds of places, and primarily independent retailers still. Like, I mean, we're not on Amazon. We're proudly not on Amazon, I'll say. And like, we have worked with some majors to do like special projects. We worked with Nordstrom. We're in Urban Outfitters. We've worked with Madewell. We've worked with, to do kind of more holiday pop up kind of things. But I mean, my day to day is, I mean, gosh, the way we split up the business is like I do most and all of the copywriting. I mean, a lot of this stuff is hive mind stuff where we're just like always kind of working on everything together. But I would say I'm the copywriter and I run the wholesale and sales side of the business.
Yeah, and then I'm more of like the aesthetics. Like I do all the photography, the marketing, um, and pretty much the accounting.
Yeah, you're yeah. um, yeah, and then so it's like it could be, and I also do all the customer service. So like it can be anything from managing like a $3,000 order to like a news shop in Tokyo and like figuring out all the logistics of that to like responding to an email about someone who lost a missing piece in an Ohio and making sure that,
Yeah, we
like
send out missing pieces. That's actually my
that
job.
is your job. Sorry, but proud
And
of that. You're
so
forwarded
yeah,
to you.
thank you. Yeah, find all the missing pieces and I write them a little note and I send them out. We've pretty much been doing these same jobs since the beginning. They just grows like, now he has more wholesalers he's juggling and maybe more customer service, maybe more missing pieces. Putting out more ads. We're doing better with marketing now that we have help with marketing. We're sort of like really honing in on Instagram posts, and like reels and all the
Sure.
things that make you want to kill yourself as a business owner, but you have to do.
We're launching a series of wheat paste ads around the
Yeah,
city in a
which we're
couple
really
weeks.
excited about.
We just did a big photo shoot in the studio, but I mean, we're also always just kind of going back and forth, coming up
And
with
making new
ideas.
puzzles. That's the other thing in the background. We're always having to sort of we always say like the wheel just keeps turning. It's like the second you finish a round of puzzles, you're like, time to start the next one.
Yeah, I
Sure.
mean, we're planned through. We're starting to plan 2027. It's like we have all the concepts and
Yeah.
ideas like set up and ready
Yeah,
to
like
go.
we're turning in files at the end of the week for puzzles that come out in April.
The timeline's really fascinating, and I would love to touch on the sort of
Mhm.
business planning process that you're describing. But before we get into that, I think something that Joe and I are both really interested in understanding more is, um, you know, puzzle building felt like a very COVID
Mhm.
activity. And we were really wondering, how has the business grown or not grown since? And it sounds like the business is doing really well, which is sort of like antithetical to that idea. And so we're wondering, like, what do you attribute that to? Like, how do you think I guess just very generally, like, how do you think you've been able to scale in a post-COVID world when this is it feels like such a COVID-specific activity, I
Mhm.
think, for so many people?
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I think we believe in an aspect of what puzzles can do for people beyond just like a downtime activity. And I think that there's also something happening in the world right now. There's been a lot of pushback.
Yeah, I would say COVID kind of
Like,
just started the puzzle,
yeah,
and it didn't end there. It really kind of started there.
for a lot of people, yeah. But I think that there's like an aspect of mental health that um, plays into why people enjoy jigsaw puzzles
And
or
anti-screen time.
anti-screen time, and whether that's like and whether that like time that you sort of set aside for yourself to like not be in front of a screen involves a jigsaw puzzle or not. Like for a lot of people it does. And also like just sort of I think people are just getting fatigued by the social media landscape and AI and all of this stuff that's just being constantly all the slop that's in the world, it's just like where are small businesses that I can support? Where are artists that are making things? Where are people that believe in something? Like, where's something true? Where's something good? Where's something good for me? Like, I think people are looking for it's beyond just like, oh, this is like a self-care activity. And we believe in all of those things. And I think that it's not like we set out to make a puzzle company and then like become, some sort of like, billionaire entrepreneur. It's like we actually believe in this thing as a project and as a product, but
Yeah, it is.
um
We always say it's like really nice to be selling a product that feels really holistic. Like, if you're going to sling your wares, like at least this is a paper product that can be used again and again. It's great for mental health. It's a great gift. It's perfect to do alone. It's perfect to do with other people. It's like such a good,
yeah.
it feels like something that's really easy to promote and mean it. Um,
And I think part of like going back to that audience that we had sort of like targeted in the beginning as like looking at who is the person that we want to like buy this or we would ideally want to buy the Puzz is like that seasoned puzzler who's like, has a whole designated room and like a closet to their puzzle collection. And also the people who are like, that's kind of lame. I don't know, but this looks interesting. And I'll do it with my friend on this vacation. And then like, oh wait, I'm actually
that was actually really fun. I want
really
to
that
do
was
another
really fun. I
one.
wanna do another one, and this company seems like they have interesting ideas, and I'll pick one of theirs up, that kind of a thing, that your first time, uh, puzzler. So, and I think we've seen that. We get notes and messages and DMs and letters and emails from people all the time with that story. So, those people are out there.
But also, I think like looking at puzzle analytics is really interesting. I wish I had them even sort of up on the screen because I think even in 2019 was like 75% of adults do work on at least one puzzle a year. Like a
Yeah.
lot of people are touching puzzles.
Mhm.
Um, and and it's gone. I think, 2020 was huge for puzzles, but I think 2021 was even bigger for puzzles. And I don't think it's really dropped off. I think it keeps growing. Like there are these speed puzzling competitions where people will they'll all work on the same puzzle, like starting at the same time and then see who's the fastest. And year over year, those are doubling the amount of people who sign up. It's getting more and more popular all the time. So it feels like COVID sparked this interest in a lot of people and it didn't sort of just end there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a sense when you're creating a new puzzle, let's say, do you have a sense for how many people, if you're selling it through your website, obviously wholesale is kind of a different thing, but if you're selling it through your website, how many people are current La Puzz customers who are excited to come back and get another puzzle versus like bringing in new people, like you said, like kind of bringing in someone who maybe hasn't done a puzzle in a while and wants to try something new? Like, do you have both of those people in mind when you're designing something new, or is it you're kind of building for the loyal person or the new person, or how's that mixture work?
Totally both. Both is
Yeah.
such a because yeah, being a part of the puzzle community, you really realize how many people are doing 5 puzzles a week, just like
Yeah.
going through them. And so, you can take those people into account. But then with the interest in puzzles growing, a lot of people are picking them up as gifts. And, in that case, they're probably picking up a 500 piece because it's like way less daunting than a 1,000 piece. So
Mhm.
I think we're trying to constantly get people's attentions, like specifically with a 500-piece puzzle, and then sort of keep getting our puzzle pal, keep getting them to reorder kind of with the thousands a lot of times.
Yeah, I think though that also with the puzzle designs, I mean, we're also kind of a bit in our own heads there. Like I try not to like um I mean, I don't know, we're constantly throwing out ideas about like, oh, this would be a really funny one to do. And we have a long list. We have a whole whiteboard full of ideas for next year and things coming up. And I mean, we definitely have customers in mind. And there have been times when we've taken an idea from someone who DM'd us, well, you should make this.
Yeah,
Like,
actually, some people the other day suggested something, the extremely random,
oh,
and
that's
we're
a
like,
really
oh,
good idea.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
like somebody suggested it, and actually, our round flat fruit
Mhm.
puzzles was definitely crowdsourced that idea.
Well,
Wow.
we had put out one of the flat fruit puzzles.
Red,
It's a red circle, and it's supposed to be like a flat apple. And so people were like, "Oh, you should do the
you
whole
should do the whole
spectrum."
fruit. You should do a
And
whole
so
fruit
do the
basket,
whole fruit spectrum. So and
And then they came out, and everyone was like, "I had a part in that." It's like they feel part
um,
of it.
and another time I went into there's a bookstore in the East Village called Pillow Cat Books, and
Mhm.
Cleo, who owns it, so well, first of all, they only carry books about animals and cats and dogs and things. So like you go in there and it's just children's books, and it's such a cute little store. Um, but I was in there, just looking around and talking to Cleo because she had brought in a couple of our puzzles, and she was like, "Your puzzles sell so well here. I'm already sold out. I need a place for reorder." She's like, "But you know what? You should make is a really like." She was
Another
like,
cat
she's like,
puzzle.
"You should make another cat puzzle, and you should make it super girly and pink."
Because our other cat puzzle
And
is like
because our
very
other cat puzzle is like,
boyish, for
yeah, I never even
lack of
thought
a
of.
better. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think about it in that way, but she was like, "You should make it really floofy and, like, silly and girly," and I was like, "Oh, that's a really funny idea." So I came back to the studio and I was like, "We should make another cat puzzle. That is one of our best sellers." And I was like, "What if we made a cat, like, taking a bath or, like, some sort of ridiculous idea?" And that became a whole production where we like hired a cat model, and but we built a small bathroom set, and um we have a puzzle of a cat taking a bath in a bathtub that we built in
Incredible.
completely in studio. And
Amazing.
so and it's
Yeah,
kind of always
crowdsourced
have.
ideas are welcome, but at the end of the day, we're probably just going to make whatever we want.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's like, I think, yeah, we've so far just managed to make about 60 puzzles since we launched. And yeah, sometimes they hit, sometimes they don't. And we still love the ones that don't hit. So that's okay with us.
It's clear that you care a lot about the community, about the puzzle building community. I think through either some amount of crowdsourcing or the missing piece program that you
Mhm.
have. Can you speak to the importance of sort of fostering this community and specifically from a business standpoint?
Well, I think like one thing we didn't know when we started out was that the subculture of the puzzling world, the puzzle community, like we call it, is one of the sweetest, most wholesome places on the internet. This little corner of people who have dedicated puzzling accounts, their finstas or their puzzles that they do. They have 40 followers, 10 followers, 9 followers. Some of them have a few thousand and have like shows that they do on the weekends where they invite guests, and legitimately some of these people have become friends of ours. Like we've gotten to know them. People email us all the, like, it is such a like pleasure to have that as sort of your like base of who you're kind of talking to and selling to. um not everybody is nice all the time, but I would say like 99% of the time people are super sweet. And we think about other industries that we could have possibly gotten into, that are cutthroat and feel kind of like icky,
Fashion.
yeah, or even wellness, health, beauty, body products, stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like, I don't know, a lot can go wrong.
But I also feel like we put a big emphasis on making people feel included because going back to our branding feeling a little bit cool, you know? I think that was like always very much apparent to us that we didn't want anyone to feel like we were too cool for them or something. So it's like we want somebody who's never done a puzzle to be like, whoa, that's really cool. But we want somebody who does 5 puzzles a week to
to be like,
to not be like, oh, that's the hipster brand, you know? I mean, it's
or to be like, I
Yeah.
want to do a Puzz because I enjoy the experience of it. Like they're actually good puzzles, and like
yes.
it's like, and another aspect of that is also like the sort of voice and ethos of our customer service that was like from the beginning. I was like, I want to be as personable and as real with people as possible, and that comes also from my experience working with Areaware. And I know I talk about them a lot, but it was really like, I
We'll
think
tell them about Shirley.
that's what I'm gonna say is like Shirley, who was the customer service rep at Areaware. I don't know if she still works there. If you ever listen to this, Shirley, hello. But like she was this older lady who worked at Areaware and had worked there for so long, and she was just amazing at like killing someone with kindness, and just like no matter what the issue was, she could talk someone all the way down just to like
To where they're like
completely,
apologizing.
yeah, like in this way. And I always think to myself, like, sometimes we'll get a pretty aggressive email from time to time, and it's understandable. Like, you totally screwed up the shipping here. It went to the wrong place. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, like this was supposed to arrive 3 days ago, and it's for a birthday party for, that I was just like, I don't know. I could get into the drama with all of it and like, fire back. But no, I like put on my Shirley glasses and like, I like kind of embody like her spirit. And I'm just like, I try to be as sweet and kind to people as possible because I feel like everybody deserves that. And you literally have no idea what's going on the other side of that email. Like they have no idea what's going on other side of that email of me also. Like, they're firing at me and like, maybe I'm having a terrible day. But as La Puz, like, yeah, we have like I feel like we have a responsibility to treat people like they're friends, like we care about them, because ultimately we do, and we want them to enjoy the entire experience, not just like, oh, cool website, cool product. Like, no, you're actually talking to the founders when you email us. You're talking to me or Alistair, and
Yeah.
you can email us as much as you want and chat us up as much as you want. We'll email you right back. I mean, I try to get an inbox 0 every day, so I'm trying to get back to
It's
everyone every
impressive.
day.
I also just want to add like
So
one thing about why it's important in puzzles to be nice to your customers or sort of to, embody this community is because puzzle people will do puzzle after puzzle after puzzle. They are repeat buyers as opposed to certain companies where it's like, oh, they bought one and that's the thing and now you have it. Here you're like, if you like us, you will come back again and again and again and you'll recommend us again and again and again. So it is an industry where it really pays to have like repeat buyers, repeat customers.
mhm.
Totally makes sense. Yeah, you mentioned people doing 5 puzzles a week, which I can imagine if you're quick, you can churn through them and it's a valuable customer to have. Um, just shifting gears a little, I'm curious to hear, I guess, what you've learned about international tariffs and trade in the past couple of years, and just kind of what it's meant to you. Like how much of an impact has it had on your business, and how much mind space has it taken up? I'm just curious to hear, what that's been like for you.
Yeah, well, I think this year, it took up quite a lot of my mind space. Earlier in the year, it was just crisis after crisis after crisis, and no one knew what was happening. And I mean, we all, yeah, it just, I mean, anyone who is dealing with international trade or import or export had some pretty stressful days earlier in the year. But yeah, I learned more about tariffs than I ever thought I would know. And bottom line, yes, it impacted our business in a negative way. What's going on with all of this nonsense is only hurting the American economy. It has nothing, it's not doing anything good, especially for small businesses. And when you get hit with, an extra 16, 20, $25,000 bill, that's just an import tax on the small business that we pay. I always have to emphasize that it's a tax on the small business, and it's not
Right.
being
On the
paid. It's not being
manufacturer.
paid by China or whatever the propaganda is. That gets passed from us to the person that's buying it because we had to raise our prices. And and industry wide, like in the puzzle world, everyone raised their prices. We didn't even realize it. We were actually kind of hanging on
Yeah.
to the last day
We were like,
to
well,
raise
what
them.
are the other companies priced at? And we're like, oh, they've all raised their prices. We're the
Yeah,
last to
yeah.
do it.
We felt like the last ones in the room. We put out a statement on our Instagram, because we were getting a lot of questions from people like, how's
Yeah, a
this
lot
going
of
to
the
affect
puzzle
me?
people the puzzle
Or,
community was really interested in it
mhm.
because they were all of a sudden, they realized that puzzle prices were going to go up across the board. And we were like, oh, don't worry about it. Puzzles are exempt. Next thing we knew.
Yeah. And then we put out a statement that was like really transparent about like, well, okay, like if we were to, because the argument started to become, well, if you're making something in China and you're gonna have to pay this tariff and you're complaining about it, then why don't you just move your manufacturing to the United States? And it's like, okay, well, here's the step by step of what that looks like for a small company. And so I wrote out this long thing and like we posted it to our Instagram um and essentially like it just kind of outlines like how much it costs to even just move like one portion of that manufacturing to the US and why it's not even viable. Like we have die lines that we've paid to cut out our puzzles on machines in China, and those are custom made by hand. It's very labor intensive. It's a something that you can't even get made in the United States. If you talk to a US manufacturer, they get them made in Poland. And so even if I
Wow.
was to work with the US manufacturer, I would have to remake the die lines with a place in Poland, have those imported. Those would also hit a tariff coming back in because they're made of stainless steel.
And then we're
So
hitting all those dead ends that we hit in the very beginning.
Right.
and then it's just a laundry list of other things that sort of go downhill from there as to like, well, now you're making a different product. You're the puzzle's thinner. It doesn't. It's the poster looks different. The box is different. The ink is different. Someone from the Wall Street Journal hit us up and did this in-depth look at what it takes to create a jigsaw puzzle. And they did all this research and they made this amazing cloud diagram of all the industries that jigsaw puzzle manufacturing touches and how the tariffs
Wow.
would sort of like touch that.
Yeah, she was like, it almost broke my computer because there were so many industries.
And so that was super fascinating. They interviewed us and they had like an economist from, I believe, Michigan, University of Michigan, come and sort of like in dialogue with us about it. But yeah, I mean, ultimately it was going to cost us somewhere like just right out of the gate, like $40,000 just to turn the machines on and get those die lines like into the hands of the new manufacturer. We can't mess around with that. This is you're talking about like the very base level of the company just cutting something out of cardboard, and we don't even know by the time that piece of the machinery like gets to them if the puzzle pieces are even going to be like high quality or not. We have no clue. And so it's just asking a small company to really take on a lot of risk, a lot of overhead for someone who is really just playing games with numbers. And like one day it was 20, one day it was 10, one day it was 150, one day it was, so we're just like, no, you
Mm.
can't, you just have to, I guess, just like we did in the very beginning with the unexpected shipping cost, we just like, well, we're just going to weather it. And unfortunately, prices did go up, and generally that means prices don't ever go back. So that's the scary part for the world at large. So
Yeah, I think that tees up our final question before our quick lightning round section at the end.
cool.
And that's thinking about where we are in 2025, right? Like you've alluded to, it's a really chaotic macro landscape. You're
Yeah.
at this really interesting intersection though, where obviously like the puzzle industry sounds like it's booming. What's next? Like, what does growth look like for you from here, and how do you think about that?
I mean, we're always thinking about sort of like, should we bridge into different games? For a long time, we were kind of just like, no, puzzles is it. Now I think we're definitely a little bit more interested in like we're working on a deck of cards, which is, similarly not, building anything from scratch, but putting our own like designs twist on it. I think for us, like we're really focusing on growing just what we're doing bigger. So getting more wholesalers and like bulking up our, B2B online sales, hopefully starting to order in larger quantities. That's a big thing for us is like, when do we take the leap into a larger quantity for our orders? So it's been a nice, steady, slow growth for us. We haven't sort of had one of those like viral leaps, which is really nice. So I think like we really have our sights focused on just like step by step, let's say, doubling the number of wholesalers we have in the next couple of years. And yeah, like moving from ordering 1,200 per SKU to 5,000 per SKU eventually, to 10,000. I mean, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I think like with La Puz, I mean, with all of this sort of business talk and everything we're talking about here, I mean, like the backbone of the company is really just like a creative business that we love and believe in, and we love making fun, silly, beautiful things, and who that will hopefully like come into someone's life and like make their day better just for a little bit, you know? There's not enough of that in the world. There should be more of that in the world. And you know, if we can put our full-time energy, the thing that we do to work in the world in that place, you know, I think that's like a good place to put your time. And so we want to like, there's always kind of like a little world of protection around that for me. I'm always like, okay, like I don't want to get too far afield and like trying to expand this, that we sort of like start losing the threads of like what makes this special. And so yes, we want to grow the business and do different things. And it's always like just insane, like the different collaboration opportunities or the people who are willing to work with us, or the things that we pull off, like, you know, on a shoestring budget, basically, just here in the studio, like recreating poker dogs with 6 real dogs, you know, or like, yeah, building the cat in the bathtub type thing,
We do have a dream of making like an overarching company
like an umbrella company. We don't even really actually know
called
what that is.
Fun Inc., FUN, and it stands for Foundation of Universal Nonsense. So, like, maybe that's an umbrella company to La Puzz and really just sort of, yeah, could house, like Michael was saying, sort of fun, beautiful, creative things, whatever that, whether it's a giant crayon or a puzzle, you know, or a
Yeah.
deck of cards.
Yeah, we definitely have a couple projects like coming down the pipeline that we never saw, like at the very beginnings of this, that are like really exciting. We hope they pan out, you know, some really exciting collaborators and things. We can't really talk about it yet, but like, cause I don't like to speak to things too soon,
Sure.
but yeah, I mean, yeah, just keep making weird, fun
Yeah.
stuff.
No, that's such a yeah, fun, for lack of a better word, note to wrap that up on.
Yeah.
We'll do a quick lightning round. So you actually answered one of our lightning questions already, so I'm going to jump to the second question. If you could collaborate with any artist or brand out there, who would your dream collaborator be?
Probably Walter Wick, who is the creator and photographer of the classic I Spy books.
Oh,
Very
yeah.
cool.
And we have
Really
chatted
cool.
with him once, and it wasn't a no,
Yeah.
but it wasn't quite a yes. So we really should revisit that conversation. But that's probably one of our highest.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Walter's a huge fan of the pod, so we'll put in a good word.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Were there any ideas that you scrapped that were just like, this is too weird, or this isn't going to work, or have you stuck with everything that you set out to build?
We had this puzzle called Gross Out.
Oh, gross out. I loved it. It was disgusting. It was trash and worms
Yeah, and it was
and mold.
and mold and garbage, and like we sprayed it with like Pam cooking spray, and it was shiny. And it was like, our friend came in from LA. She's amazing. She's an amazing food stylist, and she helped us with the Big Sammy puzzle, which is like this giant sandwich stack. But as like a side project on that shoot, we were like, okay, we're gonna make this one that's about garbage. And she was like, yeah, because like your stuff is too pretty, it's too neat, it's too clean. She's like, you should make a really gross puzzle. And yeah, Gross Out.
I still miss gross out.
Gross Out is, I saw it, we mocked it up on the box, and I was like, no way.
Everyone was like, no, no, no.
I feel like the world is worse off without gross out in it, but maybe that's just
Thank you.
my opinion.
I was like, we can market this as
a $1 buyout puzzle.
no, compost. I was like, we'll market it as a composting puzzle.
Yeah, straight to the trash.
No.
Our last question for you both today. If you could go back and give yourselves one piece of advice, what would it be?
I don't know. I feel like we killed it.
Let's just wrap there.
I feel like a big thing we always say is like pay attention to the branding, because we always kind of say like our branding took us to made up numbers, but like worth $500,000 like from the jump, just because the branding was so good. We got a lot of really good advice and help from the beginning, and I think like our friend helped us sort of build our back end that's really organized, which is another huge thing that we would tell anybody else to do from the jump. We're perfect. We did a really good job.
I think we can leave it at that.
We're absolutely not perfect.
Sorry, guys.
We can absolutely use that. That was great.
All good.
All good. Michael and Alastair, thank you both so much for coming on the show today. We
Thank you
had
so much for
a
having us.
great time talking with you both. If you want to share with the listeners where they can find La Puzz, feel free to do so.
Sure. La Puzz is available a lot of local retailers, likely in your city. We have a store finder on our website. You can look up your location. It's lapuzz, lepuzz.com.
And La Puzz Puzzles on all socials.
And La Puzz is just the word puzzle flip-flopped around. So it's like a word puzzle. Puzz.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Incredible.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Want to get 20% off your next order at La Puzz? For a limited time, you can use code UNITECONOMICS20 at checkout. Make sure to follow the show wherever you listen to podcasts.